Hey fam, I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving and enjoyed their holiday. I hope you didn't eat too much turkey. So for those that don't know me, my name is Julia, aka JuJuRose, and this week I am here to talk about postpartum depression. We did an intro video, and then I also did a video on pretty much breastfeeding and pumping. And on this channel, we'll be talking about postpartum depression as well as breastfeeding. So I wanted to do a video on postpartum depression and kind of open up the forum for you guys to send me questions or send me topics that you want to talk about related to postpartum depression. This is also the opportunity for any ladies who want to come forward and talk about their depression. They may not have anyone to talk about it with. I'm open, I'm a listening ear, I will not judge you. So yeah, just feel free to message me any topics you want me to touch regarding postpartum depression. As we know, it's, a topic that nobody wants to talk about, but I am here to say that I want to start bringing awareness to it, doing outreach, and really getting these women to come forward because they're suffering alone and they're suffering in darkness. So first and foremost, I want to talk about expectations. When we make expectations, it's obviously about something that we're expecting to happen. And sometimes we make those expectations way up here, and the expectation should probably be like right here, maybe a little lower, so that when it does not go the way we want it to go, we're not crushed by it. I mean, expectations can lead to not only postpartum depression, but any type of depression because it's you have your heart set on something and it doesn't go that way. So relating to postpartum depression, the first expectation I want to hit is childbirth. Okay, so you're pregnant, you're having the baby, you're all excited, you go into labor, and actually before you go into labor, you make a birth plan or your birth wishes. Now, being that I do work in this field, sorry you guys, that's the dryer. I've seen a lot of birth plans, a lot of birth wishes, and some of them are not realistic. And I'm here to tell all you ladies that you have to be more realistic. You have to be more open-minded when you're setting these expectations for your delivery process to give birth to your child. I think that is a big leader in postpartum depression. For example, your birth wish is a natural birth. So you come into the hospital, you want to labor naturally, you don't want any medications, you just want to labor naturally. You don't want an epidural, for example. So if you come in with tunnel vision, you just see a straight tunnel, no in between, which labor itself is very not black and white. Anything can change at any moment. When you ladies are making your birth plans and your birth wishes and your expectations of how you want your childbirth and your labor and delivery process to go, you should be more open-minded. When you make your birth wish, yes, I can understand you may want a natural birth, but you also have to have the what ifs. If I can't have a natural birth, if I'm unable to handle the contractions, I'll get an epidural. But don't be gun-ho, I don't want an epidural, because when it comes to that time, you can't handle the contractions and you need an epidural to, get through this safely, you're crushed. That's another thing that leads to postpartum depression. So you went through this labor and delivery process. It didn't go any way that you imagined, and then now you're depressed. At the end of the day, you got a healthy baby, you got a healthy mom. So even though you're setting these expectations, what I'm saying is, always have an open mind. Always have a what if. Because if you are just straight tunnel vision and you don't want to say, well, if this happens, I'll do this. If this happens, I'll do that, you're going to be crushed. Next, I want to talk about when the baby is here. So you went through your labor and delivery process and now the baby is here. Now, while you were pregnant, you probably had your friend or your family member, telling you all the good stuff about when the baby gets here, but they don't tell you the bad things. Obviously, a child is a blessing and it's a blessing to give birth, but you have the good and the bad. I mean, reality is things are gonna happen. You're gonna lose sleep, you're gonna have a crying baby, you're gonna have to be up, doing shifts with your spouse, and that's the reality of it. Some people go through this pregnancy, they're so happy the whole 40 weeks they're pregnant or 37 weeks they're pregnant, and then they have a baby and it's like, it hits like a brick. Like, what do I do? lay out the pros and cons. You need to talk about with your spouse before the baby gets here. What are we going to do when the baby is up crying? What are we going to do when the baby is ready to eat? What are we going to do about diaper changes? Like, what are going to be our shifts? Because again, if that's not set in stone, or if it's not communicated to each other, if you don't have any communication throughout the process, it can lead to postpartum depression, because the woman will feel overwhelmed. All these emotions are kicking in because you just had a baby, all these hormones, and you can get overwhelmed because it's not going the way you expected it to go. So I just think it's very important to talk about, what happens when the baby gets here. A lot of people don't talk about that. They're just excited that the baby's coming, but they don't talk about what's gonna happen throughout the night when the baby cries and the baby gets sick. And you find a lot of disagreements between, the woman and her spouse, because at this point they don't know what to do. So I think it's very important to also discuss that, while you're pregnant, before you give birth, because that can help, I feel like everyone's going to get some form of depression because it's a lifestyle change, but it can help with the severity of it. It may not be as severe. When a woman feels like, I'm doing this all alone, for example, you're breastfeeding, I'm cluster feeding every 15 minutes, I'm getting up every 2 hours, the man's not doing anything. And this goes back to my video about pumping. If you pump, then you can definitely do shifts, because you can sleep for the next shift. The baby wakes up in 2 hours, you can sleep, and daddy can be feeding the baby with the bottle. So I really think pumping takes off a lot of that stress. I mean, just because it's breastfeeding doesn't mean your baby has to be to your nipple to call it breastfeeding. Again, you can pump. And I will link the video in here about pumping so that you all can watch that as well. Another expectation is sleep. When you have a newborn, ladies, reality is you're not going to sleep like you used to. I mean, your sleep will be interrupted a lot of times until the baby is older and can sleep for a longer period of time. So that's something that a lot of people don't think about. Like, people say, when the baby get here, get ready, you're not going to get any sleep. But when it hits, like, it is real. You do not get any sleep. Especially how getting your 6 or 8 hours, you don't get that straight through. You might get 3 hours here, 2 hours there, sleep when the baby sleeps. So with that expectation, I just feel like don't expect to sleep a lot, because when you expect to get your normal sleep, you're let down, and this leads to more depression, or the severity of the depression. And I just think that it's just important to just know you're not gonna sleep regular. I mean, it's just the reality of it. There's a newborn baby here. Your mom did it for you, and the cycle continues. You just have to, kind of sacrifice. A baby's a blessing. You just have to sacrifice sleep for a little bit, but it does get better. And my whole point to talking about these expectations is this. Even though you expect certain things and it may let you down, at the end of the day, don't get discouraged. It does get better. Yeah, you had to get the epidural and you couldn't have that natural childbirth, but guess what? You have a healthy baby. You're healthy. You went through it safely. You're alive, because many people don't make it out of childbirth alive. So that's a blessing in itself. And it's just, don't get discouraged. You made it through. And with the lack of sleep with your spouse, I mean, your spouse is your partner. You guys have to have good communication. Don't cause this situation to break your bond or break your marriage. It's very important to, while you're pregnant, once again, communicate, babe, what are we gonna do during, the process, during labor, after, when the baby's here? How are we gonna coordinate our schedules to make sure that we both, get sleep and, we both can help out? Granted, there are those ladies that may not have help from a spouse, and that's fine. You can get the help from, your friend or a cousin or an aunt or your mother. It doesn't have to be your spouse, just somebody to give you some emotional support during that time, because that's very important, as your emotions and hormones are all over the place. So just don't get discouraged. The moral of the story is, yes, we have expectations, but don't set them way up here. Set them here, and if it doesn't go that way, it's okay. Don't get discouraged. Don't lead yourself into this deep depression because it didn't go the way you wanted it to go. So I just wanted to touch that and just open the floor to the postpartum depression discussion. Message me your questions. Everything's private. I will not judge you. Please make sure y'all like this video. Leave me a comment, leave me some topics you want to talk about. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and share with your friends. There should be a little bell button either over here or over here. I don't know, maybe it's up top, but wherever the bell button is, make sure you click it so you can be notified every time JuJuRose posts a video. Bye guys.